In 2005, a group of criminals pulled off one of the most daring heists in history. They broke into the Banco Central in Fortaleza, Brazil, and made off with over $70 million, using nothing but sheer audacity, patience, and an elaborate underground tunnel. This is the story of the Banco Central burglary. The Banco Central was considered one of the most secure banks in Brazil, with sophisticated security systems, alarms, and armed guards. It was built to prevent any sort of break-in, making it almost impossible for a criminal to get inside. But the criminals had a plan far beyond what anyone could have imagined. They spent months meticulously preparing for this audacious crime. They were not just looking for a quick payday. They had a grand vision, a plan that would take them from being just criminals to legends of the underworld. Instead of going through the typical means, like cracking open a vault or bypassing security systems, these criminals decided to go underground. Literally. They rented a house just a few hundred meters away from the bank. For months, they carefully dug a tunnel, reinforced with bricks and steel beams, to ensure its stability. The tunnel was just wide enough for them to transport goods, but small enough to avoid detection. They studied the blueprints of the Banco Central, ensuring that they could break into the vault directly without anyone ever noticing. On the night of the heist, everything fell into place. The criminals waited until the dead of night to begin their operation. The underground tunnel led them straight into the heart of the Banco Central's vault room. Once inside, they were faced with stacks upon stacks of cash. The vault was filled with more than $70 million, just waiting to be taken. It was an unimaginable fortune. The thieves didn't panic. They knew what they had to do. They carefully loaded up bags and crates, filling them with cash. They didn't rush. After all, they had planned for this moment for months. They even timed their escape to coincide with the city's natural patterns, ensuring there was little chance of anyone noticing anything unusual. But the heist wasn't just about taking the money. The real genius was in covering their tracks. After loading the money into their bags, they made sure to seal off the tunnel entrance. They replaced bricks, fixed the walls, and covered any signs of their activity. They made the vault area look completely untouched. No alarms triggered, no signs of forced entry. It was as if the criminals had never been there. The plan was perfectly executed. The next morning, when the bank's employees arrived at work, everything seemed normal until they started their routine checks. That's when the shocking discovery was made. The bank vault was empty. Millions of dollars were gone. The vault was completely stripped, leaving behind only dust and a few traces of evidence that the thieves had been there. At first, no one could believe it. How could this have happened? No alarms had gone off. No cameras had captured anything unusual. It seemed like an impossible crime. The authorities were immediately alerted, and the investigation began. The authorities were baffled. Bank security footage showed nothing out of the ordinary, and the vault seemed undisturbed. But something didn't add up. No forced entry, no broken locks, and no sign of any hacking into the bank's systems. The criminals had managed to sneak in and out without a trace. Detectives began to focus on the nearby neighborhood and started to ask questions. That's when they discovered a rented house where the criminals had been living. What they found there stunned them. A massive tunnel system that led directly to the Banco Central vault. The criminals were a group of 25 skilled men, many of whom had previous experience with robbery. They weren't just ordinary thieves. They were seasoned professionals. The group had meticulously planned out every detail, from the tunnel's construction to their escape route. Their knowledge of the bank and its security allowed them to execute a flawless operation. But as the investigation deepened, it became clear that this wasn't just a crime. It was an operation, a well-thought-out, multi-step plan. The criminals had also created a cover story. When they went into hiding, they had already made arrangements to disappear without a trace. Though several of the criminals were eventually caught, the fate of most of the stolen money remains a mystery. Much of it was laundered through various underground channels. However, some of the money never turned up. To this day, many of the criminals have never been identified, and most of the stolen money is still unaccounted for. The mastermind behind the heist, Antonio Jusivan Gomes, was caught and sentenced to 15 years in prison, but his accomplices remain elusive. The robbery became infamous for its brilliance, leaving investigators and the public shocked and astounded by its execution. Over the years, numerous theories have surfaced about the missing money. Some believe the thieves used the proceeds to finance other illegal activities, while others think they buried the cash in remote areas, hidden for years. A few even speculate that the money was smuggled out of Brazil to be laundered through global criminal networks. The fact remains that much of the $70 million has never been found, and it continues to be one of the most talked about crimes in Brazil's history. The Banco central burglary forced banks around the world to rethink their security protocols. New systems were put in place, including 24/7 surveillance, biometric locks, and underground detection equipment. The heist had a lasting impact on how banks handle their most precious assets. So what do you think? Where did the stolen money go? Did the criminals hide it, or is it still out there waiting to be uncovered? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more unbelievable true crime stories.